Hi children, it's Grandma Carla, and I'm going to read some more of The Littles and a surprise Thanksgiving guest because it's getting very close to Thanksgiving, which is one of my favorite holidays. I have a lot to be thankful for in my family and in my life, and that's what Thanksgiving's all about, thanking the Lord for all that He has given us. But right now we're reading about these little people, and they look just like little people except that they have tails, and they're called the Littles, and they live with the Bigs. 2 weeks after Cousin Dinky's visit, Lucy Little decided to go down into the Bigs' basement. She wasn't supposed to go there by herself, but she would often sneak down anyway. She loved to watch Mr. Big as he worked at his hobby. He created many beautiful objects out of wood. Lucy's favorite were the wonderful toys that he made for his son Henry. When Lucy got down to the basement, she made her way to a dark little room the Bigs called the root cellar. A hot water pipe that ran right through the root cellar made a good observation platform for a tiny. Lucy lay down on the pipe. From there, she could see into the room next door through the hole in the wall where the pipe passed through. Mr. Big was sanding a small wooden bear figurine he had made. When he was done, he placed it carefully inside of a large, mysterious striped tent that covered most of his workbench. "There you go, buddy," he said to the bear. "You can just relax in there with the rest of your pals until next time. I'm calling it a night." Mr. Big yawned and sat back in his chair. Lucy was disappointed. "Oh well," she thought, "it's freezing cold down here anyway." She stood up and started to walk back along the pipe, and suddenly she heard the sound of glass breaking. "No wonder it's so cold," she thought. "The basement window is falling apart." Then, without warning, 4 field mice burst through the window of the root cellar. They landed right on the pipe in front of Lucy. She didn't move a muscle. The biggest mouse turned his head and stared right at her. The other mice slowly turned their heads as well. Their eyes looked mean and cruel to Lucy, like hungry sharks' eyes might look. Without thinking, Lucy turned around and ran back the way she had come. The mice ran after her. Lucy squeezed through the hole that the pipe ran through and right into Mr. Big's workroom. She stopped and looked back. One of the biggest mice was struggling to squeeze through the hole after Lucy. Then it popped through. It charged directly at her. She ran for her life. Mr. Big heard them scrambling on the pipe over his head. "Darn cold weather's bringing mice indoors," he grumbled. He sounded angry. He stood up and smacked the pipe with a yardstick. Lucy was almost all the way across the pipe. A few inches away was the door to another secret passageway that the Littles sometimes used. Lucy stopped and looked back when she heard the yardstick hit the pipe. It hit just in front of the attacking mouse. The mouse was so startled that it fell off the pipe and onto the basement floor. Mr. Big ran after the mouse, but it squeezed through a hole in the basement wall. Then Mr. Big looked up into the darkness where Lucy was standing. He squinted his eyes. "It may be dark up there," he said, "but I can see your beady little eyes looking at me. Enjoy your life while you can, you furry little beast, because it isn't going to be a very long one." Lucy turned and ran. Just as she got to the secret door, Mr. Big turned his table light upside down and shone it on the basement ceiling. "Now I see you. I can see your tail, you dirty little rat," he said as Lucy disappeared. Later, in her family's apartment, Lucy told her family what had happened. Her mother had to give her a cup of hot chocolate to calm her down. "We're about to have a house full of unwelcome and very dangerous visitors," said Uncle Nick. "We need to fix that window, and fast. I'm sure that Mr. Big won't let the window stay broken for very long," Mrs. Little said hopefully. "I'm not so sure," said Mr. Little. "I know the window Lucy's talking about. It's in a basement room where the Bigs never use. The window can't be seen from the outside of the house either. It's under the deck that Mr. Big built out back." He would have to lie down on the patio in the backyard just to see the window. Mr. Little shook his head. No, he'd never even know there was a problem until this winter, when the water pipes freeze solid and burst. I'm afraid by the time that happens, this house will be completely filled with hungry mice. Uncle Nick is right. We're going to have to fix that window ourselves, and quickly. Until we do it, it's an open invitation for every rodent that passes by to come in and keep warm. What about Hildy? Asked Lucy. Hildy was the Big's cat. She was their friend. She sometimes let the littles ride on her back. Hildy's no spring chicken anymore, Lucy, said Uncle Pete. Besides, he shot a sideways glance at Uncle Nick. Hildy's days as a great mouser have pretty much been over ever since a certain someone introduced her to a certain tamed pet mouse of his, and she learned to love the enemy. No, forget about the cat straightening this mess out. It's like your father says, window fixed, problem solved. I hope so, Mrs. Little fretted. After all, it's not just our safety we have to worry about. We have house guests coming very soon. Don't worry, dear. Mr. Little walked over and hugged his wife. We'll get the window fixed right away. No more mice are going to get indoors. We'll have a wonderful Thanksgiving visit with our friends, and the Specks will have a terrific time. You just wait and see. Mr. Little's words made Mrs. Little feel safe and warm. Still, she couldn't help but notice that he was shaking ever so slightly. She could also feel his heart pounding very quickly as he held her tightly in his arms. Next time we will read chapter 4. Let's see if we have some pictures. Oh, there's the picture of Lucy Little on the pipe right before Mr. Big caught her. And here is the picture of Mr. Big hitting the pipe with his yardstick and the mouse falling off. And right after that, Mr. Big spots Lucy and thinks that she is a mouse as well. This is Grandma Carla, and I love you.